Welcome back, America. We're going to stay on the story that we had at the top of the show, the new Russia collusion documents out. Stories coming up on Just the News in about 30 minutes, a little bit less than that. And then all the documents will be available to everyone at 8 o'clock tonight. We're really excited. It's a quick reminder, a little history lesson for those who've read my book with Seamus, Bruner, Fallout, that the whole idea to come up with a Russian collusion story and hang that shingle on Donald Trump's house during the 2016 campaign came because the Hillary Clinton campaign realized that the Clinton cash story that our good friend Peter Schweizer wrote, that the Clintons and the Obama administration had made lots of money off of Russia during the alleged reset with Russia before Russia invaded Ukraine, that was hurting her campaign, so they needed to find something, well, to defend against it. That revelation came because of the great work of the Government Accountability Institute that Peter started, and joining us now is the vice president of the Government Accountability Institute, our good friend Eric Eggers. Eric, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks. It's an excellent day. It's an exciting day, thanks largely to the work that you have continued to do. So thank you and Just the News for all the work you've done to try to expose just how deep the effort to undermine the Trump presidency, both 1 and 2, go.
Yeah, it's so important. And, you know, Peter and the great team at JEA, they really found the first original story. Democrats today say they're all against Russia, Russia, Russia. But in 2009, they were the Russia lovers. They were resetting. They were taking $500,000 speech fees. They had John Podesta's company getting Russian backing. Everybody was making out great with Russia until it invaded Ukraine. If it weren't for JEI and Peter Schweizer, we probably wouldn't have known that part of the story.
We wouldn't know that part of the story. We wouldn't know the words like Skolkovo, which is basically Russia's effort to create their own Silicon Valley, which, as you noted, paid companies that brought on John Podesta. And so ultimately what happened is this reporting was so far-reaching. And, you know, I traveled to Haiti as part of the research team for Clinton Cash and talked about how Hillary's brother made money off of a Haitian gold mine. I mean, the Clintons were so shameless, John. Making money in Haiti and in Russia. Only the Clintons have that far-reaching tentacles of, like, basically a global ATM. But they realized, hey, we have a real problem. And so what they did is they used their campaign attorney Mark Elias, who is his own walking scandal machine, and they hired Fusion GPS, and they fabricate this whole Russian narrative. And then that Russian narrative was used to attempt to deny Donald Trump the 2016 election, and then, of course, successfully was used to deny him the 2020 election, because, as we now know, thanks to the reporting about an FBI gag order, they said, oh, this is Russian disinformation. So this Russian story has stuck with Trump campaign, but because of your work and the work that we've done here at the Government Accountability Institute, we now know it's totally fabricated.
Eric, I want to ask you, we're talking at the top of the show about Stefan Halper and his role as a confidential human source and what certainly appears to be either being egregiously wrong or lying about General Flynn. What motivation would the FBI have to keep someone like that on the payroll, to continue using them to glean information, to glean sourcing from investigations? Why would they keep someone like that?
Yeah, I think 3 letters, TDS, and it's Trump derangement syndrome. Clearly, it doesn't matter if the information is correct. I mean, what is the ultimate story and the lesson from the Russiagate fiasco? It doesn't matter if the information is true if we like the meaning that it imparts and we like the impact it has politically. So the fact that this guy's making $1.8 million, even though he's clearly not telling the truth, I mean, look at some of the information we now know because of the work that's been done in the Hunter Biden investigation. They overlooked whistleblowers and testimony. People are saying, look, I was on the phone with Hunter Biden and Ukrainian executives who said Joe Biden wanted to be bribed, and that information was overlooked. Meanwhile, people like this are straight taking cash from U.S. intelligence officials despite a track record of dishonesty or inaccuracy at best. It just speaks to how deep-seated the deep state effort to block a Trump presidency and candidacy was.
Yeah, such a great point. And it also shows how lucrative that snitching for the government, being a confidential human source or informant, as we call them, can be. $1.2 million going back to 1991, 70 or 80 grand just to do some conversations for the FBI in 2016 and 17 related to Russia collusion. You get this sense that, all right, they know there was a problem with Stefan Halper's story, allegation. You might have been wrong, might not have been, but normally that becomes a reliability issue. Normally there's a process called the validation process that goes back and decides, should we keep using a guy like this? that requires the input that you know that he didn't tell an accurate story. But when you go through the validation reports that have been released here, Eric, there's no mention of the fact that he had a problem with the story, and they just keep passing him down the line for more informing. Seems like confidential human sources are still a weak spot for the FBI.
Yeah, I guess the information is only as good as the accuracy of the people that are relaying it. No, you're absolutely right. This is a big problem for the FBI. It's one of the reasons why I think your book with Seamus was so important. And I think that, look, we've now seen subsequent emails come out and say, you have FBI officials, as you well know, say, look, we'll do anything to essentially stop Donald Trump. We excuse behavior as long as we deem the political impact to be correct. Remember, just going back to Clinton Cash for a second, the reporting we had on Hillary Clinton's relationship with Russia wasn't just stuff that was in that book. That information was given to the New York Times, the Washington Post, Bloomberg, ABC News. Those are legitimate mainstream outlets, and they all built upon it and independently reported on it. And then only after Donald Trump was elected, partly because of the information in Clinton Cash, did all of those mainstream news outlets essentially do a public mea culpa, a gnashing of teeth, a wearing of sackcloth, and said, I can't believe we were used by this duplicitous Government Accountability Institute, even though the information that we reported was absolutely correct, unlike the information of these confidential informants. But because the net effect of the information was undesirable politically, we were shunned. Meanwhile, fraudulent FBI informants are elevated. Just speaks to how broken the economy from an information and political standpoint is in our intelligence agencies.
Yeah.
Eric, I would love to give the FBI the benefit of the doubt, but the fact remains that Joe Biden was in office up until January, and Christopher Wray was the head of the FBI even when Trump was in office, and someone who I don't think was parallel with President Trump's agenda for the first term. I want to ask you about what came from these documents and what was happening maybe for the last 4 years, because there are a lot of opportunities in 4 years to conceal things that, you know, if you're worried that something might become disclosed to the American people.
Yeah, I guess what I would say is maybe they were too busy concealing something else, right? Maybe they were too busy concealing the fact that Joe Biden was suffering from a historically unprecedented cognitive decline, and they worked hand in hand with those same mainstream media outlets to conceal what, in my opinion, is the greatest scandal in American political history. Because not only did Donald Trump give orders that this information should have been declassified well earlier in his presidential term, they even gave those orders as he was leaving the White House in 2021, and that information was delayed, obfuscated. Merrick Garland did everything he could to prevent this information from coming out. Thank God for Kash Patel. Thank God for Donald Trump that we now can take a deep look at just how broken and flawed the people who are sworn to protect our country are. And it just speaks to, John, I was talking to you about this during the break, I think the best thing about the Trump presidency is how fundamentally different the conversations we're having are. We can now have an honest conversation about, well, wait a minute, how dishonest of brokers were the people that work in the FBI? Hey, wait a minute. How wrong and wasteful and abusive and fraudulent is the spending in every program that our taxpayers pay for, from USAID to the Department of Energy and everything else? And, you know, we're seeing those same conversations happen now throughout even things like tariff. Hey, wait a minute. Is it really okay for our economy to be taken for granted, exploited, and abused by Europe and China and everyone else when Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama all wanted to hold China to account when somebody else is president? So we can now have the conversations that are in America's best interest, and this intelligence one, I think, is right near the top of the list.
Eric, real quickly, I only got about a minute left. You've done some great work on the infiltration of the Communist Chinese Party all across America, including in Minnesota. Just a quick run on that.
Yeah, no, the work that we've done here, we have a series about the Communist Party China ties to Minnesota. John, the point I've made is, when you replace Joe Biden, who obviously had extensive ties through his son Hunter with the Chinese Communist Party to the tune of $1.5 billion joint venture, and you replace him with somebody who got even closer ties in terms of Tim Walz, the fact that China's operating secret police stations in Minneapolis, like I think a block and a half away from the state capitol, maybe 10 minutes away. It just shows that we dodged a bullet. Not only is Donald Trump not a Chinese communist sympathizer like Tim Walz was in Minnesota, but he's actually doing the opposite. He's putting his thumb on the scale in the favor of the American people. This would not have happened in a Harris-Walz presidency. Such
a great point. Eric, thank you for all the great work you, Peter, Seamus, and the rest of the Government Accountability Institute every day. It is one of the greatest journalism institutions I've ever had a chance to work with. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, John, as the kids say, game recognizes game. It's great to be with you.
I like that, Eric. We'll play some more game next time you come on. That was awesome.